Today we travel back in time, as it were, to tackle one of the greatest racing venues the world has to offer. And we do it in cars that will feel right at home in the English countryside. Lotus 79s around the fast, sweeping corners that are made sure to make these ground effect monsters perfect and take them to the absolute limit. Get ready. Lotus 79s at Brands Hatch, and it's all to play for. Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 13 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, exclusively live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is DJ Clark, and joining me in the booth is Mike Nuss. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you're unfamiliar with Brands Hatch, well, where have you been all these years? But no worry if you're not, though. We've got our handy GSRC track guide to bring you up to speed.
Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula One to Formula Ford, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day.
Well, that's a look at what this historic track is and was. But let's bring in my partner in the booth here. Mike, tell us a little bit more about how these Lotus 79s are going to handle this classic circuit.
This is just one of the classic circuits, as you said. Brands Hatch, 2.4 miles, 3.9 kilometers, and 9 corners, 6 to the right, 3 to the left with 30 meters of elevation. And as Murray Walker once said, why the authorities spend millions of pounds trying to turn Silverstone into a great circuit when we already have one in Brands Hatch is a mystery to me. Well, I have to certainly agree. This is amazing. And as you had mentioned, these ground effect cars taking inspiration from Colin Chapman, home from the UK, this is going to be an absolute electric race that we have on store tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. Drivers are going to have to watch out, though. It's certainly one that's a little notorious to get a pass done around, but I think we'll still see plenty of good action. Before we get to the qualifying action, which is underway, got a couple of championships to run you through. First and foremost, in the F1 drivers' standings, Marco Sanfilippo leads the way over to Topi Cortinemi. Now, that 64-point gap is pretty much unassailable for Cortinemi. The only way he's going to be able to get over Sanfilippo is if there is a DNF on Marco's point. From there on back, we have Fricha, Freckleton, Clapper, Danilo Sanfilippo, who's been contributing to the Constructors Championship over the course of the year. There you see a good little battle going on between Polycarp Partanen and Nathan Finnegan, Jacob Reed, and Jean-Francois Bosquis rounding out your top 10. Couple of battles to keep an eye on throughout there. We'll keep you abreast of all of those as things go along. But Mike, we also have an F2 Drivers' Championship, and this one, well, that is all to play for.
You can see already 6 points separating the top two. John Stevens at the top, but that certainly is not guaranteed as Tomas Bartfai is currently running in second. 36 points behind is going to be Daniel Gallus with Thomas Bernadelle in 4th, down behind Jean Lehman in 5th, with Manning Grinman in 6th, 114 points off the good Kurt Clappers. Down in 7th with Keith Henner alongside. 9th here to Ben Summers, and rounding out your top 10 for the F2 standings is going to be Jason Krokovic.
All right, that's your F2 championship. We also have that teams championship that we talked about, and it is an absolute runaway. Up at the top for SEO 9000, that's the Sanfilippo brothers leading the way in a big, big fight. But the big news for today is Team Alfa Romeo versus March Grand Prix team. That's Boskus and Stevens versus Friscia and Araya. That is tied on points going into this round. And Team ATS not too far behind them as well. We work on down through the order. You can see a couple of good battles there taking place. Minardi and Equip Renault Elf is going to be one to keep an eye on, as well as that Ragno Arrows and Tyrrell Racing team battle. So we'll keep an eye on all of that as everything plays itself out here today. Now that's going to bring us right on into the race details. And this one, round 13, that's a little bit new. We normally don't see that. It's been about 2.5 years since we've had around 13. 30 laps, no spare car, which means you bin it, you are out. But the biggest thing to keep in mind here is going to be that open setup, Mike. You've got to tweak and tune the cars to exactly your liking. And in these formula-style cars, there's a lot of adjustments you can make.
There certainly are, and especially with these very fancy Venturi tunnels and everything along those lines, ride height, the camber, everything along those is going to be so crucial. And on a track like Brands Hatch, you can see right now, one of the best overtaking opportunities, that is, of course, going to be Druids. That second corner down the hill after the Paddock Hill bend. After that, you pretty much have to settle in for the roller coaster through Graham Hill, up through Surtees, down the Pilgrims drop into Hawthorne. And that, again, going back to the setup, is where you're going to have to sort of compromise certain parts of your setup to gain in other parts of the track. This is a very tight, twisty, windy circuit, but there's still some high speeds. You have to account for everything.
You certainly do. As we check in on the live look at qualifying here, and good early days for Topi Cortinemi, leading the way by about 0.2 of a second. There you see Marco Sanfilippo, his championship rival, in 4th. Remember, he has got to finish the race. That's pretty much will secure Sanfilippo the championship. We check in on Gernot Friscia, one of the all-time greats here in the Classic Grand Prix Series. He's going to come across the line right now, currently in 16th. I think that's going to rise up to the top. Friscia with a 1:12.408. That is 2.5 tenths clear of Cortinemi.
My goodness, a blink of an eye separating them already, for in case anyone was curious. That is exactly the human eye blink, give or take, as well as the America's smallest mammal, the pygmy shrew's heart, can beat about 5 times in that time, DJ.
Well, there you go. That's a fact that I did not know that we learned here this weekend. Barry West, the UK and I driver, giving us a live look in VR. Love to be able to see these cameras from the drivers. So he's going to make his way down through Sheens right now, and one of the few left-handers on the circuit, and that, of course, is Sterling's. Now going to lead the car along. You can see there West shifting. These are, of course, manual shifting cars. They are in that old school H-pattern gearbox. West going to come across the line right now. He's currently down in 16th position. Is he going to be able to rise up through the order? No, he's not. That looks like just practice laps for him. That's going to wrap up qualifying here. So Friscia, Cortinemi, and Bracali leading the way. Your top 3. Maybe a little bit of a surprise here for Marco Sanfilippo in 5th. We'll have to see what they do. Time to run us through the qualifying order here. We're not going to have a whole lot of time because it is a standing start. Friscia leads the way over Cortinemi, then Bracali and Antti Lapisto will be in 4th. Sanfilippo 5th, Ross Banfield 6th, Timothy Reed and Jack Wells lining up in row 4, and then Danilo Sanfilippo and Andrew Petty rounds out your top 10.
Moving on to the next row. 6th row is going to be rounded off by Nathan Finnegan with AJ Roper alongside in 12th. Jensen Marlowe in 13th. Ryan Walker coming home in 14th. Daniel Gellis 15th on the grid tonight with the man that we saw across the line, Barry West, in 16th on row 8. 17th position belonging to Clint Halterman. Alongside him, Jacob Reed with Dylan Freckleton below them. And rounding out your 20th position is going to be Jason Clapper.
Josh Brain going to be the final driver on the field, back in 21st. All right, that leads us to this starting grid here at this point. Like we said, for Sanfilippo, just finish the race. That's what he has got to do here. He'll be rolling off in 5th place. We get a live look at the field. That's Cortinemi and Bracali. Now, a little bit out of position there for Bracali, as you have to say. That's an 11th place car. That means he's 11th ranked out of this field. There you see the weather conditions on your screen. Little bit chilly when we talk about racing at 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 Celsius, and that wind there is going to be a huge factor. 16 miles an hour, 27 kilometers per hour out of the northeast.
Yeah, and that will be coming in to potentially unsettle them, but here we go.
All right, lights are on as we get ready to go racing. There goes the green. We are racing here in Brands Hatch. It's a pretty clean getaway here for the top 4. A little bit of a battle farther back for 4th and 5th place as they're going to try to sort themselves out. Already Sanfilippo trying to take a look down to the inside. Pokes to the outside. Goes Topi Cortinemi as they try to sort themselves down into Druids. It looks like the field is away. The top 5 or 6 are down in a single file order. Cars glinting in the sunlight, and we are through Druids cleanly on lap 1.
Nip and tuck as they go through Graham Hill Bend down the Cooper Straight right now, but there's a bit of squabbling in the background as we're going to go potentially 3 wide through Surtees, and it's going to be a 2x2 all the way around, it seems, up the hill and back down one more time. Who's it going to be? Well, let's find out.
All right, they're going to be trying to sort themselves out here side by side going down into Hawthorne Bend. The battle of the late breakers, and it looks like Andrew Petty's going to be able to try to hold on to that. We look a little bit further up in the field. Big lunge to the inside. There's all contact, and we've got a car spun over. That's the number 9 machine falling down through the order, and Marco Sanfilippo has been caught up in it. Oh my goodness, that is the DNF that Topi Cortinemi needed.
This potentially opens the championship up for Topi all the way around. He just pretty much has to make it to the checkered flag and win to maximize his score right now. Now, the other drivers, they don't have a fixed car. They don't have that spare car. This is absolutely massive.
This is exactly what Cortinemi needed, but the problem here is going to be Cortinemi may need to be able to get a move on Gernot Frischa to be able to claim this championship. We will be feverishly doing the math behind the scenes, but I can confirm here at this point that Marco Sanfilippo has officially exited the race. He is out and down into pit lane. Okay. Let's reset here. The Finnish driver, Topi Cortinemi, in 2nd place, closing down on one of the greatest of all time, and that is Gernot Frischa. But Bracali behind him, trying to close on in as they work through Hawthorne Bend. It's about a 1-second gap in between the two. Mike, let's go back. Let's take a look at the replay. What happened here?
You can see Scriffignano onto the outside of Hawthorne Bend, and right there the inside car just catches that curb, understeers out wide, and leaves Sanfilippo absolutely zero room whatsoever. Marco, pretty much a passenger in this incident, and now he just has to let everyone through, and all of a sudden a car with enough midair time to be served wine on their flight comes barreling down on top.
Yeah, we could already see the damage. Credit to iRacing, by the way, for that damage model being updated. You can see it here. Dylan Freckleton in a little bit of a battle. Down to the inside, Freckleton goes, going through the first corner. That was some brave stuff from the UKNI driver.
High speed, high commitment overtakes, and he's still got a lot more work to do, only running an 11th for the time being. Jacob Reed, the next driver up the field, and he's currently about a 1.5 seconds off the good. AJ Roper putting the pressure back on up the hill. I'm not sure Dylan Freckleton is necessarily out of the woods just yet. No, that's not just because we're in Brands Hatch.
No, certainly not. Here's a look at Jason Clapper. This is the battle back for 15th, trying to make a move on the sometimes commentator here on GSRC, Ryan Walker. He's going to look to the outside of Hawthorne Bend. He's going to sweep around the outside. He's got it. And now trying to follow him on through is going to be Marlowe as well. Good move for Clapper. Walker under a lot of pressure.
Now coming up with Marlowe through. Can he continue that trend, at least for the likes of Ryan Walker? He has pressure from behind once more, but he's going to be applying it firmly still ahead. Taking a look as well at the lead, a bit of a gap forming at the top right now. Topi, we know he needs to find that pace. We know he needs to get into it, but still with a 30-lap race here at Brands Hatch, we have time as a variable, and that's going to be a helping hand for our 2nd position runner.
Certainly is. Checking at a live look at Timothy Reed, the Atlantic region driver, trying to close down on Jack Wells. This is the battle for 6th place on your screen. Reed in that Ferrari painted livery, looking to the back of the blue machine right now, going through Surtees. Going to take a little bit of a wider apex, try to maximize speed going down through Pilgrim's Drop. We've seen drivers get aggressive going down into Hawthorne Bend. Is Reed going to be the next one to do it? Defensive line there for him as they go into the corner. Wells defending well.
He's not going to be letting any light of day on through the door right now, but Timothy Reed, you can see chomping at the bit as they go on down through Dingledell and up through Sheens. Have to be on your best behavior on this part of the track, the back end constantly wanting to overtake the front. Now though, you get ready to line yourself up back for that start-finish straight through the final corner. Druids, I mentioned earlier, one of the best overtaking opportunities. Let's see if Timothy Reed can take advantage.
Let's see if he can indeed. Going to get a nice bit of draft down the Brabham Straight. Takes a look to the inside going into Paddock Hill Bend. I think that was a little bit more of an exploratory maneuver. And there you saw a little bit of that looseness that you talked about earlier, Mike, trying to keep that car under control for Reed. But this is one of the things that you'll see a lot in these races, just trying to apply pressure to the back of another driver and maybe force them into a mistake in these notoriously tricky to control Lotus 79s.
Yeah, these cars have enough torque to tenderize an elephant if you're not too careful with your right foot, and he's needing to be on your best behavior, just like Jensen Marlowe here, who's in a bit of a scrap themselves, maybe a knife fight in a phone booth right now in this mid-pack, as he's in the slipstream, the UKNI car, just trying to find any semblance of a light of day, try to get down to the inside. It almost seems like he's falling off the back.
Yeah, looks like he's fallen off the back a little bit, but there is, dare I say, a little bit of a train starting to form at this point. Car off to the inside there. That's going to be directly in front of Clapper. It's Roper, Gallus, Clapper, and Marlowe. They've dropped, looks a little bit like Ryan Walker. Remember, we saw them as a part of that battle. And I wonder here if we're going to see a move as Clapper takes a look to the inside going into Clark. Later on the binders, makes it play. Good move for Jason Clapper.
Great so far, just needs to keep everything in check right now. Keep in mind, there's still plenty of time left in this race, and as the race goes on, the tires are going to start graining, but the opportunities, here we go, Jason Clapper thinks about the inside, it's going to turn to the out, and a car is punted in the background. That's going to be Daniel Gallus, who's around into the kitty litter. Very unfortunate.
And I think that was Jensen Marlowe that got into the back of him, just misjudged the overtaking opportunity. Dylan Freckleton, on the other hand, with a great move there on A.J. Roper to sweep around the outside of Surtees. Well, I'm being proven wrong here at this point. There is plenty of action on the circuit. I said you can't pass around here. Clearly, there's a reason why I'm not in these cars anymore.
Well, I suppose if you can't get an overtake done, you got to force the issue at certain points and times. And as you mentioned, yes, Brands Hatch, notoriously one of the more difficult tracks to overtake on, but the drivers tonight, heck, proving pretty much everybody wrong.
Yeah, they really are. All right, let's check back in. Freckleton here. We ride on board with the 11th place driver, closing in on Nathan Finnegan in that yellow machine in front of him. Finnegan with a little bit of oversteer coming out of the corner, just trying to keep it together. Freckleton sits about 0.2 of a second back at this point as they dive into Paddock Hill Bend. You can see just how much elevation changes on this circuit and what this circuit allows you to do here, Mike, because of the extended runoff, the sort of UK way of doing runoff. It allows you to go wide. Here comes Jensen Marlowe after that coming together that we saw a little bit earlier with Daniel Gallus. He's back on the attack, trying to make a move on Clapper.
Thinking about it right now, but as we get on here to the back straight, this is one of the more dangerous moves. Now keep in mind, these cars have extremely high levels of downforce. The ground effects with the skirts, of course, that was banned a couple of years later. It was so good they had to get rid of it. Trying to use all of that downforce and speed to their advantage around the outside. Jason Clapper switches it back up, but he doesn't find the barn door.
He had the right idea there, but it didn't necessarily play off. Now he's got to be looking in his rearview mirror to see if Marlowe's going to be able to get an attack going here. But now it looks like he's going to be back on it as they come on through. There you see popping up on your screen, Gernot Friesche again setting the fastest lap of the race. He's been doing this lap after lap after lap. He is really dominating up the front of this field as we stay on board with Clapper.
Clapper here looking like he's finally beginning to get the move done that he's been looking for to the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, and like taking candy from a baby, he gets on by, and speak of the devil, there we goes Marlowe finding a nice little move, a 2-for-1 special for AJ Roper, and unfortunately he lost out on that.
Yeah, and he's got to watch out. There's a little bit of traffic coming up behind him as well. That's going to be in the form of Ryan Walker, Josh Brain, and the two of them. Barry West a little bit farther back, I think, that he would like to be. All right, as they keep going here, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this continues to play out.
And now through that high-speed, high-commitment Hawthorne Bend and back onto the back stretch where you go down the hill into the most, well, one of the best corner names on this planet, through Dingle Dell, of course, and up through Sheens. One of the more tricky sectors of these circuits, of course. Brands Hatch absolutely notoriously is one to just throw you to the wind, pretty much. You mentioned earlier the fact that the grass runoff area, sort of the British way of doing things, the proper way of doing things, might I add, it really adds another element in here with just how much horsepower these cars have.
Well, this track does have a characteristic that... You're right, it is the British way to have that grass and the immediate runoff, but there, particularly coming out of Graham Hill Bend, you have this sort of not AstroTurf, I don't really know what to describe it as, but it's a sort of almost concrete grass effect. Also at Snetterton, a couple other British tracks have that. It allows you to run a little bit wider than you think you should. One driver who's taken prime example of that and using it to full advantage, Gernot Friesche up here, 2.1 seconds over Courtenay. He has got this on lock.
Yeah, like water off a duck, he pretty much has dropped the rest of this field. And Courtenay just trying to stay alive right now. He mathematically, we're not completely sure yet if he has managed to secure the championship, but we do know it is extremely close. But with Courtenay, he is looking to finish more than just second, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think you talk about a driver here at this point. You want to win. It doesn't matter if you're going for the championship or not. You have that killer instinct. You want to try to drive. By the way, I have been corrected here. It is Grasscrete is the name of the substance on the exit of the corner. So that has solved the linguistic problem I was suffering with. Jacob Reed taking full advantage of that Grasscrete around the outside of Jack Wells coming down through turn one. That was a brave maneuver, and you saw just how loose that green machine got.
He's trying to get stuck in here in lap 10 and try to get by this pack, as you mentioned earlier, a sort of a DRS, a slipstream train being formed. Obviously, these cars not using DRS for this model, of course, a Formula One car, but still just getting stuck right now with each other and not able to get on through. This is going to become a bit frustrating for Jack Wells, as he knows he has the pace, he just can't find the position or the time to overtake.
Yeah, not really able to get it here, and he's also got to watch behind him. That P8 car, Timothy Reed, he's down one spot since the beginning of the race, but definitely has a little bit of speed to make up. Want to give credit to the car that we saw make that pass, though, directly in front of Jack. That's Jacob Reed in the number one machine. He's up 12 since the beginning of this race. Not sure if he didn't put a time in, but he is absolutely on it. Jensen Marlowe here, farther back in the field. That battle with Jason Clapper. This is the battle for P12. It continues to rage on.
And now back through the final corner they go once more, and Jensen Marlowe thinking about druids and trying to put a magical spell, at least on the car ahead. Can he make it come to fruition, or can he get it done before Paddock Hill Bend? The answer to that is a resounding no. But as we go back down the hill, the gap forms a little bit too much, and Jensen Marlowe is going to have to wait one more time round.
Oh, but a lockup in front of him there is going to maybe give him some hope. Jason Clapper going to try to see what he's able to do. Dylan Freckleton also sits back in P13. Love that livery. A little bit of a British throwback with the TVR livery. That's not something you see every day on the sim. Love to see that. He's going to be pushing ahead here at this point. The seventh marked driver working ahead. He's got a gap here of about 1.3 seconds to try to close on in. Let's see if he's able to do it. Oh, big wide run in front of him there from that. That's Marlowe getting a little bit off. Here's the battle for P4. This is Ross Banfield on La Pisto, trying to see if he's got anything to play.
Pace is about as even as you could possibly ask between these two drivers, Antti Lepisto and Ross Banfield. Well, as Murray Walker once said, the car in front is as close to the car behind That doesn't really seem to be changing, at least between these two right now, but the same can't be said for Timothy Reed. He's found his moment. He smells blood in the water, potentially, in Jack Wells. He's going to be sweating like a cow in a burger joint.
All right, here he goes. He wasn't able to get the run through Druids. Now we can see if he can maybe send a cheeky move into Surtees. Looks like he's not going to get the run there, but this is all going to be set up as they go down through Surtees right now. Oh, a little bit off the apex, little bit of oversteer that Reed had to correct, and that's going to put him back in the order for a while.
That is a frustrating move right there if you're Timothy Reed, and that's just only going to encourage him just that little bit more. He's sort of racing himself right now as well as racing Jack Wells ahead, and you just have to dial it back in. Find your pace, find the consistency, and use that to your advantage. On the previous lap, Timothy Reed was just about 0.2 of a second quicker. He just needs to dial it back in and use that pace to his advantage.
Yeah, certainly does. Reed's got the speed. He just needs to focus on it and get it together. Now, here comes the fight back. Topi Kortenemi with the fastest lap of the race. That's going to be set by about 0.3 of a second, so Kortenemi maybe trying to fight back here a little bit. We keep our eyes on Timothy Reed. You saw that he stuck to drivers right there, just seeing if he can maybe put a little bit of pressure onto the back of Jack Wells, but Wells not deterred, just ran his racing line.
No, he's not really telegraphing too much right now, is Timothy Reed. Sort of just parked in the back, just waiting for either a mistake from Jack Wells or for a later lap and a better opportunity. Again, there's still plenty of time left. We're not even halfway done with this race yet. We're just about to that stage, but of course, as the race gets more and more going on, the tires are going to start to fall away more and more, and of course, that's going to be even for everybody, but that just makes overtaking just that little bit more hard. Timothy Reed seems like he's getting a hurry up on it, the middle part of the circuit.
But once again, gets a little bit of snap oversteer mid-corner. I think Reed may be overdriving this car ever so slightly. It just looks like anytime he gets close, he smells that blood in the water and starts to push. Gernot Friesche, by the way, says, "You're not taking that fastest lap for me." Sets it back down to the 100,000th of a second. That's how closely matched that fastest lap was.
Absolutely incredible. Pretty much the eighth wonders of the world up at the top of the field for the most part. Timothy Reed here, again, seeing that red. Of course, you can see the red on the front wing. I think he's seeing a little bit more red in his visor. Very nice there onto the brakes. He's closing that gap up just to potentially get the move now onto the Hawthorne bend. Got to keep that gap close as ever, but of course, the dirty air going to be playing a crucial role with that wind, with everything in terms of pretty much unfavor against Timothy Reed. But here we go, Ross Banfield looking for some moves.
Yeah, this is on Enzi Lepisto in 4P4, trying to move his way up forward. Banfield, the Virginia region driver, looking ahead right now. Great throwback Williams livery there. We saw a little bit of that familiar livery on the Williams this year in Formula One. Lepisto doing a good job of holding off here. The Finnish driver carrying the standard well for his nation. We often see quite a few Finnish drivers here in the Classic Grand Prix series. It's become a little bit of a hallmark, and it's always welcome to see.
The Finns are always welcome in any racing series. They're just built a little bit different ever since, of course, pretty much all of these Finnish racing drivers have been driving at least since they were 2 years old, or heck, even before they came out of the womb. But either way, it's a little bit of a natural talent, it seems, for them.
Yeah, it certainly is. Part of it is, frankly, due to the rigors of the Finnish driving program that you have to go through to get your license. Obviously, the Finns known most for their rallying expertise, but they are very, very good when it comes to circuit racing as well. But here comes a Finn who may be in a little bit of trouble here. Banfield getting ready to make the move on Lepisto. No, he's going to hold back off a little bit. Maybe see if he can force exactly that. Lepisto running a little bit wide.
Just a little bit wide, but not wide enough for Banfield to really capitalize. You can get the car alongside there, but that would be almost certain death if you were to commit. And Lepisto, he knows that. It was a very small mistake, but something that he can't let add up, as those small mistakes, you keep letting those come around, and eventually, well, it's going to turn into a big one, and that would be the position lost and pretty much the race over for Lepisto if he's not too careful. But right now, he is doing an absolute amazing amazing job for this defensive masterclass.
He really is. Freesia, by the way, setting another fastest lap of the race, and that brings up something. Oh, as Timothy Reed tries to make a move around the outside of Jack Wells coming down into the first corner. Is he going to be able to make this play? No, Wells holds him off for the moment, but there's still more to play for. Up into Druids. Here comes Reed around the outside. Looks for a little bit of a crossover. Brilliantly defended there by Jack Wells, parking that blue car right on the apex and preventing that as Reed gets slideways coming out of Graham Hill Bend.
Timothy Reed is wrestling the ocean right now. He is trying his best to make that move stick, go for anything he can, but he is finding absolutely zero success no matter how much effort he puts into it. He just has to dial it back. I think you're so right on this, DJ. He's overdriving that car astronomically at this stage.
Yeah, it really is. All right, we focus back here on Josh Brain. This is 15th position. He's trying to close in on AJ Roper in front of him. And I'm going to call something here at this point. That car that he is driving, that is not a Lotus 79 livery. That is Al Unser Jr. from the mid-90s in IndyCar. That is one of my favorite liveries of all time. So, Josh, credit to you, my friend.
That is amazing that you can recognize that, DJ. More credit to you, I think, on that. But either way, the battle hot in contention right now for 14th position. Josh Brain thinks about a move there potentially, but he is going to be looking, of course, in his rearview mirror, and it's going to be very difficult to ignore Ryan Walker, who is going to be trying to, well, punch a hole pretty much right in his rear diffuser.
Yeah, but it looks like Walker's going to be under a little bit of pressure from Barry West as well. We've kind of got two couplets starting to form here in this battle. Here comes Brain, though, looking to the outside, maybe looking for an over-under. Not going to get it done. Doesn't get the run off the corner I think he would have liked, as now they go down into Graham Hill Bend. Going to get that to play as well. Roper runs a little bit wide, not going to be able to get it, but I like what Brain is doing here. He's poking his nose. He's trying to put pressure. He's trying to force that mistake out of Roper. He may not need to force it. He's got a good draft here coming up into Hawthorne.
Thinks about it, but there is no daylight to be found, at least just yet. Again, as we go on through the very narrow part of the circuit now, back down through Dingledell and into Sheen's Curve. The opportunity, this isn't necessarily the spot, barring a mistake from the car up front, and there is a mistake. AJ Roper drops the ball and gives the position over to Brain for free.
And that's exactly what I was talking about here at this point, Mike. Just putting that pressure to the back of Roper and forcing that mistake. Brain not taking the maneuver necessarily to overtake, but putting the pressure. Now it's on to Ryan Walker to see if he's able to do the same thing. Down into Paddock Hill Bend they go. Walker not quite able to be brave enough on the brakes. He's got to watch out from behind as well. We said Barry West was closing up on him. Now it's going to be a three-car scrap. This all for the 14th position.
Oh, this is an exciting battle, and as the race goes more and more on, these drivers are going to be facing that ever-looming presence of tire wear, making it more difficult to overtake. We mentioned earlier on this track, it's a fairly chilly circuit out there, which means the tires, they can potentially grain up a little bit. You can sort of think of that as rubbing an eraser on the back of a piece, or on a piece of paper, and those little balls of rubber start to ball up on the end of your eraser. That's pretty much what's happening to these drivers' tires, and of course, that's going to just cause you to lose more and more traction.
And there's that weird crossover point that you do get only really in the Lotus 79s, because remember, these are bias ply tires that they're running. These tires are modeled after tires that were designed to go a full race distance, so you're going to get that wear off a little bit later in the race. Gernot Freesia, for example, setting the fastest lap of the race with this continuing to go. But we've got to take a look at this. AJ Roper, yes, he lost a position, but take a look at this save.
Yeah, just absolute handful of opposite lock, wrestling the octopus, and he manages to not lose just more than one position. Just one position there certainly is not nothing to shake a stick at. It could have been much worse, could have been race ending.
Yeah, we check in on the battle for the top 10 here at this point. This is Nathan Finnegan, Jensen Marlowe, Dylan Freckleton, and John Clapper. Freckleton looking a little bit aggressive there, trying to go down into the inside of Jensen Marlowe, but that's not going to play. That's going to open up the ideas here for Freckleton in the red and white, number 13, conveniently in 13th place, but he'd like to make that P12 before everything is said and done.
Clappers in 13th with the number 13. Some say that's fate, some say it's a curse. Well, we're gonna find out here very, very shortly. 10 laps left to go in this session, and Jason Clappers at the back of this pack, needing to find some moves early on, but with Dylan Freckleton not really faltering just yet. We look at his lap times, pretty much an entire second, or about 5/10 of a second quicker on the previous lap.
Big move down to the inside for Jensen Marlowe, going down into Druids. It's not going to play itself out. Well defended there from Nathan Finnegan. He's going to be able to hold that out for the moment. As they now come down through Graham Hill Bend, things look like they're sorting themselves out a little bit. Marlowe taking a think about down to the inside. That's not going to go. Now it's going to open up the door for Freckleton. He thought about a little bit of a go, but now they're going to stay in line. Keep your eyes here. Watch this move from behind. Looking out the back of Nathan Finnegan. That's going to be a look one way for Marlowe and a look one way the other. He's got it through her Hawthorne.
Absolutely brilliant. And looking at the pack here as well, they are going to continue this scrapping at least for the foreseeable future. Nathan Finnegan here needs to be very careful. That corner through Sheens there, just changing the load of the car, really making it easy to snap, as we've already seen so far. And under pressure firmly right now is going to be Nathan Finnegan down into Druids.
Yeah, once you get that momentum building, if you are Jensen Marlowe, he's going to want that move ahead. And also because that's going to be a top 10 position, that's going to be bragging rights here for Nathan Finnegan. He's got to watch out from behind. Jensen Marlowe not looking like he's going to let this go. Ooh, that was a door that was always going to close for Marlowe. Freckleton needs to be taken advantage, though, because he could have a move.
Yeah, very close from behind, as well as I think that was, as you mentioned, Dylan Freckleton just going for a bit of a dive bomb to the outside. Thankfully, no understeer from Jensen Marlowe. Doesn't quite end the day there, but certainly could have. Almost could have been an airplane crash if you weren't careful. For the battle, it rages on. A four-way fight right now for P10, and now we see Nathan Finnegan getting fully alongside of Hawthorne. It's a high-speed, high-commitment corner. The 12 is off into the grass, manages to recover back onto the circuit, but goes into the kitty litter, and Finnegan secures the position, and 2 positions drop for Marlowe.
Gotta give credit there to Jensen Marlowe. He kept his foot in it as he was going through the grass, but unfortunately just not enough grip there to make it play. A little bit of a surprising fastest lap there for Jacob Reed in 6th position, a 1:12.238. Interesting there that he's able to take that away. Gernot Friescho probably going to try to steal it back here in a second. Times continue to fall, though, as the fuel in these cars continues to wear off. Jason, there is Gernot Friescho up at the front of the field in that pinstripe livery. Keep working his way along here at this point. His fastest lap is a 1:12.291. Reed's fastest lap was a 1:12.238, so really nothing in it when we talk about these fastest laps.
No, he is flying along here tonight. And speaking of flying along, DJ, do you happen to know how many bird species are in the area here of Kent?
My avian knowledge of Kent in particular is lacking. If you maybe talked about Dorchester, I could pull it off, but not Kent.
Well, I'm glad you asked them, because there just so happens to be over 200 bird species in this area, including migratory, resident, and vagrant species such as skylarks, lapwings, sparrowhawks, and yellowhammers.
All right, there you go. You learn something new every single day. As our director asks in our ears, how many die from racing? I've never seen a bird strike here at this, although Indy has had a few of them, not the Indy circuit. Timothy Reed, though, going for a little bit of a move on Jack Wells. He's going to look to the outside of Druids. Let's see if he can get that to play. Reed looking around the outside, but he's going to hold it. Wells for the moment.
Very nice attempt, though. That's one of the best quarters to go for it. And we all know Timothy Reed. He has been pretty much beating his head against a brick wall, but no, Nathan Finnegan has beat his car against a tire barrier, and he's a well-dedicated one to the marshals. That is gutting. Nathan Finnegan, who was running in 10th position, holding on so well, has dropped it with 8 to go.
Oh, and that's exactly what can start to happen as these tires begin to wear a little bit, and as these cars get lighter. You talked about it earlier, the lightness of the cars, they get looser, they get twitchier. There we see as there's an off, and Nathan Finnegan, I think, has had a problem.
That is just, again, adding more insult to injury there for the number 16, and that is going to have to be pretty much race over, I'm pretty sure, for Finnegan. Just a terrible way to end it in what was going to be such a promising result as well. It's just not the day for him.
No, it really is not. But we check back in on this renewed battle for P10. Freckleton trying to close on in. Couple other drivers losing a position or two as things go along. Here we go. Reed trying to make this move once again. He's now going to have the inside line coming down into into Graham Hill. They're still going to be side by side, but Reed's got to give up the ghost.
Reed, though, is going to come back round for certain now as we go on through Surtees and up the hill, down through Pilgrim's Drop. We're close, but are we close enough? He parks at dead center of the track. Timothy Reed commits to the inside of Hawthorne, and there's netcode contact, and round goes the other car. That is Jack Wells, and in a just unfortunate manner, it is to be said.
That dreaded netcode that we talk about sometimes. We're going to take a look at the replay of exactly what happened to Finnegan here at this point. Let's see. Oh, just caught a little bit of the grass coming out of the exit of Druids and hard into the barriers coming down the hill.
That is a tank slapper if I've ever seen one, and Jack Wells, well, unfortunately, his day is coming now down to an end as well. The front right tire has been pretty much knocked off of its push rods, and that is just going to have to be one stop for him, and stop too many.
Yeah, he's going to have to come on in, although we've got a little bit of a battle now starting to take place here. Lepisto and Bracali starting to sort themselves out a little bit more. This is going to be really interesting to see what happens. This is the battle for P3. This is the final spot on the podium, and Ross Banfield not too far back from this as well. This could be a battle with 6 to go.
This has actually been really intelligent driving from Ross Banfield and Antti Lepisto. They've both been in contention now for pretty much the entirety of this race for P4, but Ross Banfield just hasn't gone for the moves. They had about a 2.5-second gap at one stage to Luca, but now they've found the back of the number 11, and both drivers are in contention for the bottom step of the podium. Very strategic driving. Is it going to be rewarded? Down to the inside of Druids. Antti Lepisto thinks about it, but is not going to get it done.
No, not quite able to get it done. Takes another little bit of a look there as they go down into the corner. He's going to just try to keep applying pressure, I think, if you're Lepisto. That's a good way to think about it. There you see poking to the inside, poking to the inside, poking to the outside. Nancy just trying to find that opportunity. Maybe let's see if he does this again. Let's see here what Bracali decides to do. Coming down the hill into Hawthorne Bend. They're going to stay in line there. I don't think Lepisto wanted to give up any ground. Whoa, he loses it! He loses it coming through Westfield Bend.
Absolutely devastating. Antti Lepisto keeps it out of the barrier, but a completely self-inflicted mistake. The pressure has built, and we all know it. Pressure can crack you into a million pieces, or it can turn you into a diamond. And Antti Lepisto, he snapped.
I absolutely did. Just caught a little bit of oversteer, wasn't able to get it, and that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. As these cars get lighter, they get looser, they get harder to control. There we see a prime example. Jason Clapper getting all kinds of sideways in his battle to hold off Dylan Freckleton.
Bit of a milking the cow there for pretty much all of these drivers, just trying to keep it between the mayo and the mustard. That's the goal right now, but you still have to make the overtakes happen, and you have to do them cleanly. Right now, Ross Banfield trying to do exactly that now, trying to at least hold on. Luca Barcolat is under pressure, but that is going to be who is that into the background? That's Ross Banfield getting on through. Wait, no.
That's Banfield getting on through. Is that a lapped car in the middle of all of that? Yeah, that's Timothy Reed getting involved in that. That's that number 1 machine that you see. No, it's Jacob Reed. He was able to get the play. He's now up into 4th, and now it's going to be a battle for P3 between Bracali and Reed, and it looks like Reed's got the advantage. Now here comes back on Banfield.
Oh, a little bumping and banging though as Ross Banfield gets a hip check off the circuit, and that's only going to add more fire into this, and more fuel to the fire. Banfield looking for 4th right now, but we all know he wants more. He wants the bottom step of the podium, and there's 3 to go, DJ.
3 to go here for your leader, Gernot Friesche. Almost a 4-second gap up at the front of the field. Everybody's starting to be able to get themselves going. All right, here is Jason Clapper. This is the battle back for P8, trying to close in on Dylan Freckleton. If these two get too tangled up, Jensen Marlowe sits back in 10th. He is ready to be able to pounce on it. Here comes Clapper. Great run coming out of Clark Curve. Could he have a move coming down into Paddock Hill Bend? No, he's going to stay in line. Let's see if he does it into Druids.
Let's see, down the hill. He's a little too far back and catching some understeer there. That's going to cause him just to lose that advantage that he had, the 13 car. Again, lucky number 13. Some say Ross Banfield, though, looking to get the move on to the 11 right now for what's going to be the 4th position. Doesn't get it done. He is certainly, though, giving Luca quite the hard time.
Yeah, certainly is. There you see Luca going this way, going that way. Bracali really using every inch of the track that he can. 2 to go as Gernot Friesche crosses the line. Banfield in 5th, but he wants that 4th place position away from Luca Bracali.
He wants more than that, but right now he's going to take what he can get in the slipstream, up the hill, looks to the racing line right now. That's going to set him up brilliantly to send it through Paddock Hill Bend, and Ross Banfield gets 4th position for his efforts, but it's a dive bomb and a half from Luca, and he has gone into deep, his best sum 41 impression of the night.
Oh, that is absolutely heartbreaking for Luca Bracali, but we have got to give credit there to Ross Banfield. That maneuver was absolutely gorgeous. That dummy and crossover coming through Paddock Hill Bend. Jacob Reed, though, here, we got to give him credit. Up 15 since the drop of the green flag. He has a podium position. Who would have thought that when we were sitting on the grid?
Yeah, certainly not. Jacob, I would imagine, is gaining 18 positions back from 15th. This has been a day to remember for the UK and I here on the home soil. Jacob Reed, hats off to you, sir.
Certainly is. As here comes Topi Kortenemi crossing over the line in P2. We believe this will give the Finnish driver the championship here. We do believe that that is what will come across for him. So this is a composed, fantastic drive from Kortenemi. Not quite able to close in on Gernot Friesche, but doing the math in our head, we think this is the championship.
Then Gernot Friesche up in the lead, Friesche, and he has, well, led since day 1, lap 1, moment 1. Doesn't have the fastest lap, so it isn't going to be the grand slam necessarily, but certainly is an all-around hard-pressed effort for the detached number 3.
Absolutely remarkable here. Here he goes. He's got a little bit of lap traffic. That's AJ Roper. Would not be surprised if we see this pinstripe number 3 back off a little bit and not let him go by. We don't want to see a situation where he runs into trouble. Here he comes down through Clark Curve. Here he goes. For the final time in 2024 Season 4, Friesche crosses the line. He will take victory. Behind him, Topi Kortenemi crosses the line. He will take the championship from P2.
Down in 3rd position, Jacob Reed, 15 positions gained and a podium for his efforts. Absolutely incredible for the number 1 UK and I machine.
And look at that, crossing over the line. He's going to pip the fastest lap of the race as well for good measure. Luca Bracali comes home in P5, losing out on that battle. He will stay in P5. Ross Banfield was P4. Here comes Jason Clapper to the line. Is he out of gas? I think he's out of fuel.
Is he? No, he should have enough here, it looks like, to coast to the line at the very least. It's a slow finish for the 13, but he does take the checkered flag. And Antti Lepisto, for anyone curious, did manage to finish there in 6th position after that snap, so not the worst result at the end of the day. Here is Barry West just outside of the top 10, the virtual reality driver, gonna be taking the checkered flag as well.
Yeah, it's a good run for Barry. He's up 5 spots. Josh Brain ahead of him up 11. So good run for Barry. He'll be very pleased with that. And the final drive to cross over the line will be 13th place. Dylan Freckleton. Something happened there to him. I think that may have who I had heard sputtering coming up the line from our commentary booth. Well, folks, We've got to take a moment here on GSRC to catch our breath, but stay with us. We'll be back with those final finishing results as well as driver interviews. No break, excuse me. We are going to go directly into the final finishing results here. Let's take a look at how they finished. Gernot Fritzsche with the class of the field. Topi Kortenemi in second place, able to hold on to that championship. Then Jacob Reed, Ross Banfield, and Luca Bacali able to recover, as you said earlier, Mike. Nancy Lapisto in sixth place. Danilo Sanfilippo, not too bad in seventh place. Clapper, Brain, and Barry West, a good drive, round out your top 10.
Down to 11th position, Jensen Marlowe finishing off there in 11th for the number 12 with AJ Roper alongside him. Dylan Freckleton, 13th position, not the end of the world there for Freckleton, but certainly could have had a little bit more. Ryan Walker coming home in 14th with Timothy Reed in 15th. Daniel Gallus 16th tonight with Andrew Petty alongside him. Jack Wells in 18th with Nathan Finnegan, unfortunately down in 19th. 20th for Clint Halterman and Marco Sanfilippo, the talk of the town and the man on the bottom of the field.
Absolute heartbreak for Marco. We certainly thought he was going to be the one to be able to take the championship here today. Just had to finish the race. Oh my goodness, and wasn't able to do it. But we do have a couple of interviews lined up here. First and foremost, your winner, Gernot Fritzsche, joining us here up in the booth. Gernot, it's been a long time since I've been able to talk to you, and what a way to come back here. Victory, a dominant performance from pole. This has got to feel good.
Thanks, DJ. Yeah, that was one of my best races in the recent past. The only other one that compares was Silverstone, so England seems to be a good place for me this season.
It certainly does. But looking ahead to next season, obviously, waiting for the schedule to officially be announced, do you think you can maybe make another title attempt here, coming in, riding off of a wave of good momentum off of this last round?
No, I don't think so. So I rather expect to need another 2 years until I get used to the new time model again. So it will take some time for me for sure. The others are very quick in adapting usually. I'm just not constant enough at the moment. So I'm quite happy with some tracks where I'm really good. But on other tracks I really struggle with my pace. So don't see a good chance for a championship next season.
All right, well, we hate to hear that, but in looking ahead to the new season, anything you're excited about bringing on for the new update, the new build? Anything you're particularly looking forward to?
Definitely yes, because this car is a niche series, so usually the Lotus 79 doesn't get that much attention from the developers. So I'm really happy if they improve the car. So that's always good to see. Of course, I'm looking forward to next season. The competition is crazy strong at the moment. This season was really ridiculous. And of course, if I want to sum it up, I have to say huge congrats to Topi for winning the Sunday Grand Prix series, which is amazing because he was coming from far behind. And I'm sorry for Marco because he had an almost perfect season as well, and was unlucky in this one.
Well, Gernot, thank you so much for joining us here today. Congratulations on your win. Before we let you go, anybody else you'd like to thank for a fantastic win and a fantastic season?
All you guys from Global SimRacing, because it really is important for this series. So I hope that some people get the funding provided that we need for the broadcast next season. It's always good to see. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much. That was your victor and dominant performance here on the day, Gernot Fritzsche. And now, Mike Noss, you have been able to catch up with our second-place driver and series champion, Topi Kortenemi.
Topi Kortenemi, I'm assuming the champagne is already flowing. How does it feel to say that you are the unofficial, but of course the champion of the Lotus 79 season?
Yeah, I'm already on the second bottle.
Fair play, fair play. Well, the race today, why don't we talk a little bit about that? You managed to start off in second position and you finished where you started. You had Gernot up ahead of you, but all in all, I'm pretty sure at that first lap, you saw the incident that happened, and at that point, did you know that you had the championship secured if you just kept it under wraps?
Actually, I didn't know about the incident. I thought Marco was like P7 or P6, so I was still pushing like to finish P2.
Well, the pushing worked out for you. Still with a P2 finish, you didn't quite, like I say, catch with Gernot, but at the end of the day, consistency takes all. And Topi, again, round of applause. How was this season? Why don't you just take a little bit of a look back and just discuss a little bit? Of course, this is round 13 of 13. We'll talk a little bit more about the next season here in a second, but how was this season 4 here for you of the Lotus 79s?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I was kind of underdog for the championship for most of the season, and I really enjoyed that it came to the last race to decide it. So I think it has been really good.
And it was decided in one of the most spectacular fashions as well, Topi. Well, we mentioned it just previously, a new tire model for next season. How does that play in terms of your decision-making for that? Is that going to be good for you? Is that going to be something you're not necessarily looking forward to? Because all in all, I think you're going to be one of the, heavy hitters for the championship in the next season.
I think I need to rework my setups anyway, so I don't mind if it's better, of course.
Well, there we go. There we have it. Topi, he is the man here to talk about for tonight, and the champagne already flowing strong. Now, before you do go anywhere, Topi, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your victories out there on circuit?
Oh yeah, Mick Claridge and Pauli Partanen for making me do all the races. And I've had some great racing with Pauli this season. Also with Marco. Yeah. And you guys, of course, excellent broadcasts. Like 5 to 5. At least.
Well, I love to hear it. Thank you very much, Topi. And from everybody at Global SimRacing, I'm sure we all thank you for that. But Topi, enjoy the champagne. Enjoy the rest of your evening, because you, sir, are the champion of the Lotus 79 Season 4.
Thanks, you. I will.
All right, one more interview, and then we pull the curtain down on the season. That man, of course, being Barry West. Barry, a great performance for you. P10, how would you rate it out there today?
Frustrating for qualifying because I was so much higher. I got such a good start lap 1, and then I had to avoid the incident, go on the grass, and came back on in 21st. So I'm well pleased with 10th after that. I mean, this is a strong track for me, so it's one of my favourites. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I could have been up there. It's one of those tracks that I love chasing on rather than being chased, because you can worry people into mistakes, whereas you tend to overdrive when there's someone up your chuff like all the time.
I know that feeling all too well, but what is it about this track in particular that does just seem to suit your driving style quite well?
I don't know. When you do a good lap, you hardly brake at all. You don't need to brake. I think there's 2 braking areas. But when there's somebody behind you, you're just so ultra cautious, and time just goes away. But when you're confident and there's nothing on track, you can really chuck the car around, and it's such a joy to drive. And it should be good next season with the new tyre model that I think we're going to get. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
You stole my next question away from me, talking to you about the new tire model. Have you heard any rumors? Have you heard anything coming through the pipe on what we can expect, and how excited are you for it?
Well, I think you're going to feel the car more, so I understand. But I've not had a chance to try it, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I really think they should sort the damage model out a bit more, make it more severe, so you can't change gear so fast, because it penalises the sequential and the 8-shifters, I think. You lose a little bit each lap, but the gearboxes used to break for a pastime if you weren't careful changing gear, but that seems to have gone now. So yeah, especially the last one, Bathurst, my side pod came off and there was hardly any touch at all, and then I went over it into the wall. So yeah, you can see some massive accidents that people get away with no damage, and then there's others where it's just a little tap and it's it's curtains. But yeah, I think apart from that, I just love this car.
Well, we love watching you drive it, Barry. Thank you so much for joining us, and anybody else you'd like to thank?
No, wife obviously will let me doing it, and congratulations to whoever won the championship. Was it Topi or was it? I don't know who. Well,
it was Topi. It was Topi. He was able to steal it.
Oh, right. Well, big rats to Topi then. That must have been some epic race.
It was pretty fantastic. You'll have to watch back the broadcast. It was pretty darn good all the way through.
And happy Christmas to you guys.
Happy Christmas to you too, Barry. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next season.
Cheers. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was Barry West. You were 10th place driver here on the day. Mike, another fantastic season, another fantastic bit of drivers here. This is what it's all about. It doesn't get much better than this.
It really doesn't, DJ. This was one of the circuits that we thought was going to deliver, and it certainly did not fail in that. We had dramas at the start. We had dramas in the middle. We have amazing racing all the way throughout from start till finish. And this championship, if this race wasn't a trailer for what this championship is, then again, go back and watch any single one of this Sunday Series GP Lotus 79 broadcast, because this has just been a championship to remember.
It certainly has, and if you want to join in and watch next season's championship, we're still waiting on the official schedule release, but it'll be starting back up in soon enough fashion. We're about to head on out of here, but we want to thank you all today for joining us. And also thanks to the team today, Mike, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, our merchandise store, and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race for this season will be coming up in short order, December 22nd. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and make sure to check out any of the other broadcasts that we have listed up on your screen. You can also check them out on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.